Good evening and welcome to The View. My guests tonight are producer Bill Hughes, Sunday Business Post arts editor Nadine O'Regan and Irish independent film critic Paul Whittington. Parked is the directorial debut feature from Dara Byrne. It stars Colin Meaney as Fred Daly, an upright citizen back in Ireland but with nowhere to live but in his car. And so, parked beside Dublin Bay, he soon becomes part of a trinity of outsiders, the others being a drug-addicted 21-year-old called Cahill and a Finnish piano teacher called Jules. Here, Fred, trying to find his feet, comes face to face with the Department of Social Welfare.
Yes?
I'm here about my claim.
Still in the car park?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I think your claim is back, but just let me get the file. They disallowed the claim. You can appeal the decision.
But all the time I was in England, I paid my dues.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. But if you've no fixed abode, no assistance. Will you come on, for fuck's sake? We're waiting here. Do you want to get served in here today? Listen, you have tried for a job, have you?
If you could get a job, do you think you'd be here?
It was just a thought.
Come on, Fred, let's go.
Well, for a film which is about homelessness and unemployment and all sorts of pretty nasty stuff, it's got a very strange tone to it, hasn't it? A kind of a gentle tone for the most part.
It's a gentle tone. It's slightly detached, which would be my only real sort of problem with it. I never saw Colin Meaney play vulnerable before, and he plays it very, very well. I think it's a beautifully composed film, but I think it keeps pulling back from itself, and I think that might be because it's a debut feature. But I think the director Dara has done, he's done such a tremendous job in visualising this detachment. And here they are in a car park. He's picked great parts of Dublin to shoot. Some of the sequences are so beautiful, like the use of the local swimming pool, the interaction with other characters. And I thought this young actor, Colin Morgan, I didn't recognise him at first, and I kept saying, who is he? I know him from... But he was so brilliantly made up with these awful, hideous teeth of a junkie. And then I went, it's Merlin. It's the kid who plays Merlin on the telly. But it's an odd group of people. And you sit there and you are waiting for backstory to be filled in so you can figure out what brought the Colin Meaney character to this place.
And there's only a hint of that, really.
There is a hint that he was a clockmaker and stuff, but then you realise, well, actually, that's the work you have to do as a member of the audience. And I like that the director did that to us. It's not all fed to us on a plate. We do have to sit there and try and fill in the blanks. And we have to come to terms with, you know, what is it that happens to a person when they've clearly lost everything, when society is denied, you're not allowed in, and the only person who's inviting you into a party is a young junkie who's in another car living beside you. And you say to yourself, oh my God, is that the end? And it transpires that the Colin Meaney character finds some kind of release in that, and some kind of new humanity in himself.
What's different about this film, I guess, is the Colin Meaney character. He's a proud man. He's an upright citizen. He's not some kind of a wreck. You know, he's kind of, for want of a better word, a normal guy. The other guy is the drug addict. He's the one you expect to find in this situation.
Yeah, the Colin Meaney character, Fred, he has a plant he keeps in his car, and he takes it out and he waters it every day. He keeps himself as clean as a king would do. He creates his own life according to his own sense of pride, and he lives his life the way he wants to live it. And I think that's, in some sense, part of the key to this film, that no matter what the circumstances are, these two characters don't actually allow life to drag them down until perhaps the very finest, the final moments. And what I loved about it was that it was so, relatively speaking, cliche-free, because we expect certain things from a film like this, as you mentioned.
I did expect Michael Hatton to turn up at some stage and threaten him. And he did.
So he did.
And he did.
Well, I think in the final third, you know, it's going to have to fall a certain way. But what I loved about it was just that how funny it was, how warm it was, how uplifting it was. And I think sometimes this is an Irish-Finnish production. I think sometimes with Irish films we tend to say, oh, it was good, but maybe good for an Irish film. That's the curse that every actor and production person absolutely hates. But this isn't true of this film. This is just a good film. It's won audience awards at a couple of film festivals. They've been nominated, obviously, for a lot of IFTAs. And the central two performances from Colin Morgan, as you mentioned, Colin Morgan is incredible in this film. He reminded me of Colin Farrell when he first shot to fame. There's that similar vulnerability in the eyes, but his mastery of his craft is phenomenal to watch, and his relationship with Colm Meaney is incredible. And as you mentioned, the amazing use of locations, the swimming pool, just the car park. The director of photography here did a great job. I think it's John Conroy, and essentially, this film, I mean, if you liked films like The Station Agent, you would love this film. It's a great watch.
Sometimes, as Nadine mentioned, a film that's kind of an Irish-Finnish film, you know, you have to bring somebody Finnish into it, or you have to some kind of Finnish theme in it, and that often ruins the film. In this case, it didn't. This woman appeared who was, in many ways, a believable love interest for Colin Meaney.
I think she was more believable as a love interest than Colin Morgan was as a junkie, even though I think he's a very charismatic actor. I thought that he was allowed, perhaps not through his own fault, to drift over the top a bit sometimes. In other words, it was the bit of the performance you weren't supposed to see, but he was good at times. His teeth were very good. But I think that the film looked fantastic, and considering the budget it was made on, I think it was made for 150 or something like that. It had the good luck to be made in January of 2010, which was that really cold month, until the next really cold month came along later in the year, and the light is absolutely fantastic, and it looks tremendous. And in the 80s and 90s, you used to be able to tell Irish films by how they looked, and not in a good way. But this looks tremendous. I think it just runs, it's a bit light, I think it just runs out of itself a little bit towards the end.
Do you agree with, I mean, you said at the start, Bill, that you felt it kind of pulled back.
It pulled back, but I think that's because it didn't explore some of the characters. And in particular, the junkie's father, who's played by the very fine Stuart Graham, who's kind of wasted because...
It's like he wasn't available or something.
Yeah, it's like he didn't, and I think if his relationship with his son had been more explored, I'd have found the experience overall more satisfying.
Definitely,
but I did think the Finnish piano teacher, I thought she was terrific.
She was
and
great.
I loved the church vignettes where they go and visit a church, and there are so many of those churches springing up all over Dublin where you can on an afternoon ramble around and a church door will be open and there will be gospel music coming from it, and that's not the Dublin of old. That is the new Dublin. That's where the disenfranchised are going. That's where the immigrants are going, and it does play perfectly to the times.
I think another little problem dramatically was the fact that Michael Hatton and Dermot Wilmot, they were...
It's always them, isn't it?
It's always them, and they were a bit cuddly, like, they were a bit half-hearted in the way they beat him up, and I think that kind of took a bit of the dramatic tension out of it. But, I mean, there's a lot to like in it, having said that.
All right. Parked opens in cinemas nationwide on Friday.